Hey there, this is the One Boom, and welcome back to another Battlefield 6 video. Today we're going to be talking about why you're losing gunfights and how you need to adjust and adapt to the mechanics of Battlefield 6. So, Battlefield 6 is a different beast compared to the other major controller shooters, and just shooters in general. So whether you're playing on keyboard and mouse, this information is very valuable to you, but it's going to pertain very heavily towards controller users that might have a bit of a rude awakening. Ever since Battlefield 1, Battlefield has sort of been a little bit lenient about some aiming things, especially after the Battlefield 1 major weapon rework patch, and those concepts were carried into the next two Battlefield games, Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield 5. So there is a lot of accuracy lenience that this game isn't granting us. After the beta, they did some reworks to bloom and movement shooting, and you're in for a rude awakening if you have not played Battlefield 3 and 4 or even Battlefield Hardline, which I guess Hardline was the first game where they made the gunplay a little bit more lenient, but either way, first things first, you have an accuracy penalty when walking and shooting, and you don't want to be doing it. You don't want to be walking and shooting unless you absolutely have to. Obviously, sometimes you can't avoid it, but if you are trying to take out a target and you have them dead to rights on your screen at around, mid to close mid to mid long range, you need to be holding still. Do not try to tap fire somebody at a distance while strafing, and this is a difficult thing to learn. We used to call it, and a subscriber reminded me, we used to call it stop and pop, because you stop, acquire, and shoot. And that is the biggest tip I can give you to start this video with. And you have to unlearn a lot of things. In Call of Duty, you want to always be moving your feet to activate your rotational aim assist. Halo is the dual stick dance to make sure your sight's on target, because Halo, while not requiring the most precision, requires the most consistent precision. So, in Halo, you have some leniency with some like bullet magnetism and red reticle. You have to be persistent over a longer period of time in the gunfights, so using your left stick is very important. And then if you're playing like no aim assist games on controller like Rainbow Six Siege, you want to left stick aim a little bit. Really, if you're aiming in most console games, your left and right stick are sort of working in tandem together to play better. And this is actually a pretty big nerf to controller players, because we usually, if we know what we're doing, we use our left and right stick together. But because you really shouldn't be doing that, I do highly recommend turning off crossplay if you're gonna play this game. If you're on controller, if you're on Xbox or PlayStation, I guarantee you not playing with mouse and keyboard players is your first step to success here. Keyboard never really needs to use WASD to aim, whereas controller, it's very common to use your left stick to help your aim. Even outside of activating any aim assist, left stick is just important, and it's sort of gonna get you killed here. So that's my first number one tip for you, is to use the stop and pop technique. Stop moving your feet, hunker down, crouch, prone, get the kill, then keep moving. In absolute close quarters, it's not as big of a deal, but in this game's current state, I've still had it lose me a couple gunfights, so don't fall victim to that. The next thing is, it's a pretty simple one, you might already be doing it, tap fire. Tap firing is incredibly important because this game has bloom, and this game has suppression that throws off your aim a little bit. If you're shot at too many times or hit with an explosive, your character will have more idle sway. You don't want that, but you need to be tap firing. As much and as quickly as possible, you need to be tap firing. Practice tap firing on walls, on bots, on players. You need to be feathering your trigger if at all possible, especially in anything past early mid-range. If they're outside of like 20 meters, they probably need to be tap fired just to be sure that you're actually going to hit the target. The recoil in this game is not insanely high, especially if you're not moving while shooting, but the bloom will get you if you hold the trigger down, so make sure you're always tap firing with your feet planted. You should honestly thank God a little bit for bloom over just higher recoil, and the reason for that is, if somebody's head glitching in this game, you can just put your dot on their head and tap fire, tap fire, tap fire. The reset to center speed is actually not too bad in this game, so taking out head glitchers is not the hardest thing in the world if you're able to land those tap shots. My third tip is to use semi-auto. By aiming down sight and hitting the D-pad on your controller, or whatever your keybind is on keyboard and mouse, you'll switch to semi-auto, and semi-auto, as far as I can tell, even on less accurate carbines, is going to be an actual laser beam. Your gun will become a rapid-fire semi-auto god, and all of the shots should basically land in the same hole, if not adjacent to it. So if somebody's really far out, like 80 meters, trying to snipe you, get some cover, swap to semi-auto, put your dot on them, and just go ham on the trigger. It takes some getting used to, but it is absolutely worth it. Semi-auto changes the characteristics of your gun. There's also a trigger attachment that you can unlock for most of the weapons that allows you to do the same thing, even with more success. Semi-auto is not a gimmick. It's not just in there because it's also in previous games or in Call of Duty, or to be realistic, it's actually a mechanic in this game for long-range gunfights. Make sure you're utilizing it. And last but not least, try to use any attachment that says it increases your bullet velocity, and try to avoid anything that says it decreases your bullet velocity. While you should be reading all of your attachments to make sure that you are not equipping something that's hurting your playstyle, as long as you're increasing your bullet velocity and following the rest of my tips, your gunfights are going to feel a lot more consistent and a lot more manageable. I am currently still in the learning stages of this game. I'm not going to pretend to be a god or even good, but after I realized that this is how this game needs to be played, my gameplay experience tripled in quality just from understanding that about the game. And if you're curious about my aiming settings, I don't have every setting listed here, but these are the settings I use for this page, this main infantry tuning stage. This is basically it, and then I just don't really tweak anything else. If you guys want a detailed settings video of every setting I'm using, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section below. I don't feel like I've perfectly found a sweet spot yet, so this is basically what I use. And then here's what I use for my dead zones, because I have the GameSir G7 Pro controller that has TMR sticks that don't have any drift and they have 0 dead zone. So I set my games to 0 if at all possible. I did give myself a little bit extra dead zone on the left stick so that I don't accidentally move and throw off my aim, because I don't want to activate bloom or recoil inconsistencies by walking and shooting at the same time. But again, if you want a dedicated settings video, please let me know down in the comment section below. And if any of these tips helped you get better at the game, please leave a like. Sorry, my voice is a little bit dead from streaming, and I stream on this channel, so hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live. I have more tips and tricks and in-depth stuff about Battlefield coming out soon to this channel, so I hope you come back and check me out. Either way, I'll see you when I see you, and goodbye.